Oh, hey, look, it's LinkedIn, and we're wearing the same color shirt.
Again, and I think you caught me fingertip drumming on my computer too there for a second. I'll stop that.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, so we'll just, for people who don't watch it live, we'll just edit out the beginning of that because it was really embarrassing. It wasn't good drumming.
Just for that, you were going to need to come over here to Bremerton, and I'm going to take you down to the studio, and I'm going to sit you down in the chair with the guitars on either side and the Zeppelin poster above you, and I'm going to make you listen. And so you can report accurately on this. So I'm not saying what you're saying is inaccurate. I'm saying you haven't really tested your hypothesis yet, and so I just want to ground you in some fact.
Okay. That's just what we need. That's just what we need. It's funny. So I'm actually in our Seattle office today, and which is why my background looks like it does, and why why I have this. But it's funny. I was going to move to, a room where I didn't have the sun coming in behind me, and then I was like, you know what? We don't get that much sun, and so darn it, I am not leaving this area with the sun behind me. So there.
Oh my God, it's going to be 100 degrees.
It's not going to be 100 degrees. It's not going to get there, but we'll see.
We'll see.
So all right. A couple of announcements about an upcoming event.
We got stuff.
This is. So we've heard from customers, we've heard from companies, we've heard from government organizations about cyber insurance. And so we're going to do a panel on it on August 18th with this really great guy who Brian Hurd.
Yeah.
He's with Strauss Freeburg, now Aon, and manages incident response teams for large companies that have been really, badly, well, mostly ransomware, but hacked in other ways too. I'm going to put the registration link in the chat, but if you're not watching live, email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll make sure you go. This one's going to be really good. All of our events are good, but this one's really good, must attend. And we know a lot of folks are going through some hard times with their insurance renewals. And so we'll talk about how to save money and how to talk to your insurance company, and whether to go with a broker and all those things. So anyway, Mike, you were traveling.
Yes, I was traveling. I was in Nashville, and I'm glad to be back. And I'm pretty tired because that was a real dive and roll trip. I was there presenting to Blood Centers of America. That was a really good meeting. Yeah. Also, I can tell you the Renaissance Hotel in Nashville is a spectacular conference center. It's really good. Everything about that place is great. And by the way, Jake, no, their logo is not Dracula. And thanks for trying to fool me into using vampires in my presentation. I almost did that, and I'm really glad I caught myself because no, none of that was true. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, can't make yourself laugh. Anyway,
the blood is the life.
The blood.
Mm-hmm.
The comedy value of that would have been great. You always say the way to get people to remember you is 25% stand-up comedy, right? That's why you try to be. That's why you try to be funny.
Yeah, to the extent that anybody thinks I'm funny, yeah. I think I'm funny. I don't think anybody agrees, but I have a good time.
So did your, I'm not sure who was there. Did your security message resonate?
I think it did, yes. And I think we're going to be working with BCA as an association rather than all the individual affiliates, which makes a lot of sense. They were definitely receptive to the message. And in fact, one of the new vulnerability notifications applies to all manner of organizations in the health sector. This thing called Niche Stack. Did you see about this? It's a proprietary TCP/IP stack that's used in lots of operational technologies for something like 200 manufacturers.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, this was developed in 1996, so unsurprisingly, it's gone bad. Not all devices have all the vulnerabilities, but the impacts can be remote code execution. A couple of them have CVSS scores that are 7.5 and more. So these are pretty critical. Now back to Bloodworks. They use operational technologies to do their own manufacturing which is the separation of blood into platelets and plasma products that they sell, right? So for that and other maybe more benign applications, you need to apply the patches that have been released by a company called HCC Embedded, because this looks scary.
Hey, we were joking, of course, about Dracula, and somebody put in the comments on YouTube, something Count Chocula, but in all seriousness, don't forget to donate blood. It's really important to do. You help other people, kind of like other things you could do to help people.
Unless you're COVID positive, don't give blood. In fact, I'll share with you.
Don't go to the blood center if you're COVID positive.
Well, true. I just gave myself a self-COVID test and it came up negative. So, because I've been traveling, been through airports, and we are super, super careful about that stuff. So
was it like sticking a stick up your nose?
It was literally sticking a stick up your nose. Is what it was.
It's better than a stick in the eye. Anyway, so while you were on the plane, all this news came out about Accenture, ransomware attack at Accenture. And a week ago, there was a report that what's the gang? Lockbit? Is that what it is?
Lockbit is the one that they're saying is responsible here for Accenture.
Yeah, that Lockbit was
never heard of them.
Well, they're Russian. Maybe if you spoke more Russian, Lockbit was looking for insiders at organizations. Is that what happened here?
So I don't think we can trust any public statements yet, right? So from what I understand,
wait, you mean don't trust the ransomware gangs?
No, don't trust Accenture's statements right now.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Because they got smacked, they were stored from backup, but a bunch of their documents have been stolen, and we know the kind of work that Accenture does. And so if their records having to do with customer interactions have been purloined, that's valuable stuff. If you're an Accenture customer and you've brought them in to audit all manner of things may be made public soon. So I think the customer base is pretty nervous right now. That's why it's important for them to really control the message until they actually know what has happened here, what the extent of the damage might be. So I think it's too early to know exactly what's going on now, but they got hit with ransomware. They were stored from backup, but a bunch of records are out there. And they may be paying to get them back.
So I also, I'm going to go back to the tactic here. I don't know that I believe Lockbit. What they did is they said that they, were looking for insiders in companies to essentially let them in, and, that they would pay them a bounty of $1 million or millions. I don't know what the sum was, but it was a lot of money. I haven't heard that before as a tactic. I mean, as somebody advertising a tactic. You?
Well, I'm not advertising it, but it's not unknown for this to happen. In fact, this is we're doing we're creating a tabletop exercise for a company, and we discussed this yesterday. Actually, this may be the scenario that we use. Is somebody has been paid to go bad on you. So interesting that's one of the theories here. I don't know that that's necessarily true. The gang, I definitely don't trust what they're saying.
It's like 1950s bank robber movie, right? All right. Okay. So anyway, well, where you have, somebody becomes the teller. Anyway, whatever. There's a movie. You should watch it. And it's not The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming. Okay. One other thing that I know happened this week is a warning to smart buildings. What you put in the blast is, we may be looking at extortion operations against office buildings soon, which is great. I'm sitting in one. Talk about that one, because we're all struggling with going back to the real offices and, what's going on there?
Well, I think it's kind of the same thing as that TCP stack vulnerability, right? Smart buildings have a lot of technology that's used for telemetry and control, and that technology is not being maintained for security. They're building automation systems that integrate measurements with HVAC, for example. Thousands of sensors that are distributed through the building to get fine detail on temperature, so they can, if you're not in a room, there's no reason to control the temperature in the room.
Mhm.
Most of this stuff has no IT support at all. So here comes some bummers. That's how I read that. It's a warning, and it's just another target for these gangs for them to monetize.
Mhm.
I actually think it's going to be less of a problem because more people are working at home, and so that's where the bad guys are going to focus. But this is being advertised as watch out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one could disable room key access, control water, electricity, elevators, and I'm so glad I take it 17 floors up.
That's right.
I think, the impacts would be maybe greater for a hotel than an office building, since offices might be considered so 20th century soon, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd hate to get locked out of my hotel room on the 20th floor with no elevator and the building rapidly heating up. That's kind of scenario they're talking about.
Well, when I first moved to Seattle, I lived on the 24th floor of a building, and the elevators didn't work a lot of the time. So
Ooh.
there is that.
Is that how you lost all that weight?
I don't know how to take that.
That's funny. That's actually how I lost a lot of weight, was walking up the hill in Seattle, right? Yeah.
I certainly wasn't eating Count Chocula cereal. Hey, so what's the story on that $611 million theft of cryptocurrency? And why, that's a big deal, right? And what is cross-chaining? Remember, I'm the marketing guy. Explain that to me.
So, first of all, I have no idea what cross-chaining is either and how that would be used for theft, but apparently it was. I did read that this was a crypto attack, and that means there were keys involved. It's investors that were impacted for the most part, not consumers that just want to use cryptocurrency to pay at Starbucks or an Amazon store or something. And I don't really know either of those are possible, so we should move on to another topic because I don't know.
All right. Well, if you're watching this and you know what cross-chaining is,
please tell us.
Tell us. We don't get it. We're not that smart. All right. Nice job, Mike. Thanks for that.
I'm here for you, man.
Yeah, you're really up on that one. I also understand the person responsible for that one has been identified and is frantically trying to return funds, which is an interesting part of the story. Also, in the last week, Black Hat, DEF CON, I also love the way those conferences drop those vulnerability bombshells. What's the new exchange problem that was announced there?
Yeah. So this is a famous researcher. His name is Orange Tsai, who discovered this. Microsoft Exchange servers are affected by 3 vulnerabilities that can be exploited by an unauthenticated attacker for remote code execution. That's kind of the worst sentence you can possibly say in this. So rather than going into the details here, it's called Proxy Shell. There's a good video blog, and I think I sent you the link to this
earlier. I can put it in the chat.
That video blog is more explanatory than anything I could do. So if you patch that in chat, people can check it out if you're interested. What I will say is that this is interesting. Shortly after all this was presented at the conferences, honeypots started to see files dropped and commands being executed. So just in case there was any doubt about how open meeting disclosures are weaponized, there you go.
Hey, by the way, Russ puts in the chat here, cross-chaining just refers to interop between 2 independent blockchains. So apparently it has nothing to do with crossing the streams.
Well, I should read some more on that. I'm glad smart people are listening to us and helping to inform us so that we can inform other people.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Thanks, Ross.
That's good. We appreciate it. Since we're talking about vulnerabilities, what's the deal with the home routers that have gone bad all again?
All over the place.
It's starting to look like they're now, new efforts to get into home networks that then gets people into their corporate networks, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this one up because I forgot. And it's important to point out. This is an actively exploited bug that bypasses authentication on home routers using what are Arcadian, which is not spelled like Arcadian. I can't remember how to spell it, but it's Arcadian firmware that will take them over and add them to the Mirai botnet. So vulnerable devices include, I think, 20 models across 17, I think it's 17 vendors. All I can remember is the prime number. And the exposure is thought to be in the millions of these things. So, and again, the exploit started 2 days after the release of proof of concept code. So home users do not know this, will probably not upgrade these devices. There is no automatic update setting for firmware, and this is easily exploited. So buckle up. One other side note on this, and you remember we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Chinese actors are known to proxy their attacks through these home devices. And attacks against these devices have been mapped back to Wuhan, China. So there you go. That's what's lining up. And again,
things mapped
just
back
goes
to
to
Wuhan,
show,
China don't make me happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're launching attacks from your compromised home router, all of these businesses out there that block China think they're actually doing something. They're not doing anything. It's not. It doesn't work that way.
Well, so if you have one of these devices and it's come from your service provider, what do you do?
Well, I think you point it out to your service provider, send them the reference on this thing, and demand an upgrade, or you'll switch providers. That's how to get their attention.
Oh yeah, calling the 800 number for an internet service provider and telling them, demanding thing, that always works so well.
No, you just say, look, here's the deal. I need a new device, or I'm going to Comcast or CenturyLink or whoever. Windstream. I don't recommend Windstream. You have to assume that the new ISP won't send you an old buggy router.
Yeah.
Anyway, which may not be the best assumption in the world, or you can take responsibility yourself and buy your own. The best article on this is in Bleeping Computer, so go there for the detail. And when I say this is all over the place, there's another Cisco home router vulnerability as well, actually in use by small and medium businesses a lot, right? It's consumer grade technology, but small businesses use that stuff a lot. So there is that. So everybody's router is now bad, being actively exploited. It's just getting more out of control.
No, other than that, everything's fine, right? All right.
Sure.
End of the chat here. Kicker, something to make us laugh, leave us with a happy feeling.
Hang on a second. I want to mention one more thing. This proposed Bureau of Cyber Statistics. Did you read about this? Because we were talking about insurance before. The federal government has poor visibility into what cybering is going on in the private sector. So as an add-on to the proposal for 24-hour reporting of incidents, the Bureau of Cyber Statistics will track data, use that to prioritize how we prepare and respond. But I think that the bigger benefit is to the insurance companies, because this will finally give them data that's been needed to estimate the risk posed by organizations they insure, right? Insurance companies have been happily feeding at the cyber trough for a long time until ransomware started killing them. And now they need data to dig themselves out. So first, I'm unsympathetic to the finger in the wind insurance pricing that's bitten them all. That's a self-inflicted wound. But secondly, I just want to reiterate that we're going to be doing a panel discussion on these topics and more, and this is going to be a good panel.
Yeah, and it looks like for whatever reason, my comments aren't with the links are posting on YouTube, but not on LinkedIn. So I'm going to post the link to that again, this time directly on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Here you go. All right, now give us the kicker, Mike.
Okay, man.
Give us something to smile about, because that wasn't it. You really failed there.
I usually do. I mean, honestly, I could keep going. A lot is happening right now. Apple is going to scan phones for child abuse imagery, for example. That's
not funny.
Kind of a big deal. That could be 15 minutes right there, right? But for a kicker, what I came across is the fact that cyber criminals are mostly 9-to-5 employees, and very few are what you would consider to be evil geniuses. Most are basically technical contractors who, as you may know, spend a lot of time looking for their next gig. So with the right kind of incentives, the thought is that we can pull them into more legitimate opportunities and take a bite out of crime that way. So let's all get ready to hire Russian DevOps contractors to save us all from ransomware. It's a brilliant idea, Jake.
It's not a brilliant idea, but I think, we've taken a bite out of something. We've talked about Count Chocula. I think we need some breakfast.
Yeah, maybe so.
All right. So I need folks to do something.
Hmm.
One of our awesome staff members yesterday admitted to Mike that she has been referring to him as the Cyber King.
Oh God.
And as you
Let's
can
bring it
tell,
up.
he loves it. He loves it. Look at him. He loves it. So here's what I want to know. Should I get him a crown? I need you to let me know. Put it in the chat or
Don't
email
let him
me.
know. Do not entertain.
I need to know. I need to know. Should I get Mike a crown?
Please don't encourage Jake.
Yep. Jake at
Folks.
criticalinsight.com. I need to know. Should Mike have a crown? Yep. This is what we're going to do. And you just don't have a say in it. Also, since I have control over the platform, I could just mute you.
This is already turning out to be a long day.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
See you next week.